Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I've got an update on the CCIV or Lucid Motors delivery schedule and their worldwide expansion plans. I'll be telling you how they're bringing forward their plans of international expansion so quickly and what that means for the business. I'll also be going through the NNDM or Nano Dimension's new earnings, as they've just released their Q4 results. I'll be delving deep and analysing these figures to determine whether Nano Dimensions has a promising future or not. But back to Lucid Motors. In one of my recent CCIV videos, I told you about how Lucid are currently in talks to open a new manufacturing facility in Saudi Arabia, and they're currently holding job openings for finance staff in Amsterdam. I told you that this meant that Lucid would soon be expanding into Europe, because otherwise they would have put the staff in the Middle East along with the factory. But it seems that Lucid plan to expand into Europe even quicker than I thought. Lucid recently tweeted about US deliveries taking place in spring of 2021 and European deliveries taking place in late 2021. That means that in the next 2 quarters, Lucid are going to be delivering across the US domestically and across Europe and in Canada. And I think that the rest of their expansion plans, such as introducing the SUV and expanding into China, will happen sooner than expected as well. If you're enjoying the video so far, then be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking that red button down below to benefit from in-depth analysis on new, up-and-coming stocks, regular news updates on fast-moving stocks, and expose-style videos to help save you time and grow your stock portfolio. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon, link down below in the description, to become part of the team and discuss stocks before they start blowing up, like BNGO, SENS, CCIV, and many others. You also get access to my stock portfolio, which is updated daily, weekly live streams, one-to-one access, and more. But for now, let's get back to the video. But how are Lucid able to expand so fast? Well, obviously they recently had an investment from the Saudi Public Investment Fund for about $1.3 billion. This gave them enough money to construct their manufacturing facility in the US, which has so far cost them about $700 million. But that means that Lucid Motors are only left with about $600 million, a lot of which has probably already been spent on research and development. And they're just about to construct another facility in Saudi Arabia, which will probably cost at least another $700 million. So how are Lucid going to raise enough money to finish the Middle Eastern facility and expand into Europe by the end of the year? Well, as we figured out, it's probably too late for them to do an IPO, as it will take at least 6 months to set it up, and then even longer to issue a few more shares to have the cash reserves ready to go. This is why Lucid need to reverse merge with an SPAC to go public as quick as possible. Depending on how much cash is raised from the reverse merger, they might also have to issue some additional shares to make sure they have the cash for the Middle Eastern facility and for European expansion. I think that Lucid are likely to issue a bunch of new shares when they do go public so they can bring in enough cash to bring the rest of their expansion plans forward, such as bringing forward the launch of their Project Gravity SUV to 2022 instead of 2023. They've also received investment from Sing Capital as Shelby Chan sits on the board. We know that Peter Rawlinson wants to expand into China by 2025 or 2026, and I think that these plans could also be brought forward as well if they have the cash for it. But what does this mean for Lucid Motors as a company and for their share price when they do eventually go public? Well, I think that Lucid need to be careful not to do too much at once, as they'll be trying to ramp up production of their Lucid Air while trying to expand their US facility to handle more production and trying to expand overseas all at once. They could end up in the position where they're burning through cash too fast, quicker than the money is coming in, which could lead to them going out of business. But if they can maintain their cash reserves by issuing new shares or taking on some debt, and they can manage the process of expanding and ramping up their production and expanding overseas, they could grow very, very fast. If we compare to NIO, remember that while NIO are ramping up their production at the moment, they haven't expanded outside of China yet. While they have made a few vehicle deliveries in Europe, they haven't yet built any factories elsewhere. Therefore, it's actually quite viable that Lucid Motors could be as big, if not bigger than NIO by the end of 2021, if they can expand fast enough. Which, by the way, would mean that the CCIV stock would increase by over 11 times its current value. Over the last week, the CCIV stock has been trading fairly flat, pulling back to around $30 before increasing back to around $33. I think that the stock will likely keep trading in this range until news of the announcement, or if there's any more teasers of the merger. If you want to pick up some shares in CCIV or NNDM, then be sure to sign up to free trade using my link down below in the description to get a free share worth up to £200 when you invest a minimum of £1. Yep, that's right, you only have to invest £1 and you will get a free share worth up to £200. Also, be sure to check out the link to my Patreon in the description as well to become part of the team. But now on to NNDM, who have just released their unaudited Q4 financials, and we can see that their revenues have decreased massively from around $7 million in 2019 to around $3.4 million in 2020. But interestingly, Nano Dimension's reported that their second half of 2020 revenues were much better than expected. Full year revenues were around $3.4 million, first half revenues were around $1 million, and therefore second half revenues are around $2.4 million. But if we compare this to 2019, their first half revenues were around $3 million and full year revenues were $7 million. And therefore second half revenues last year were $4 million, which is way more than $2.4 million of 2020. The global pandemic is still around, which has caused many customers to curb their capital expenditure entirely. But it does seem like NNDM have been trying to combat this by thinking up and implementing monthly revenues, such as selling the inks to customers and doing the printing for customers instead of selling them the printers direct. But I think the next part is even more important, their future plans. Mr. Stern has prepared an aggressive go-to-market strategy to use all of this cash that's been built up to A, expand the business through M&A transactions, and B, market the business and market their printers. NNDM have analysed over 80 potential merger targets. Some of them have extensive and new breakthrough technologies, and some of them they've even engaged with merger or takeover conversations. The cash has also been used to research new technologies and develop new products. I think that NNDM are going to have a very aggressive 2021. Ideally, they can implement all three strategies: release a new printer, aggressively market that printer, and take over a few businesses to grow their business and implement new technologies that they gain through the acquisitions. I think that if NNDM can implement these changes, their stock could grow rapidly. Since September, their stock price has increased by about 10x on poor results. Therefore, if they have a good 2021, some good results, and some mergers, their stock price could grow rapidly. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to check out some of my others. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel and ding the notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers!